Bugün bu panelde Cybersecurity sizinle birlikte tartışacağız. Tabii tartışacağız dediğim benimle değil, buradaki panelist arkadaşlarımızla. Buradaki panelist arkadaşlarımızın hepsi uzmandır. Bildiğiniz gibi Cybersecurity artık sadece şirketler için değil, toplum için de büyük bir değer kazanıyor. Bunu hepiniz biliyorsunuzdur. En azından smartphone'larınız olduğundan bu yana biliyorsunuz, sadece yani iyi app'ler yoktur. Daha değişik app'ler de vardır. Bu sadece bundan sonra bununla kalınmayacak. Daha değişik makinalara, daha değişik şeylere de bu atılacaktır. Evvel gün açılışında Sayın Başkanım şunu demişti. Demişti artık yani sim kartların satılması sadece şeyler için satılmıyor. Cep telefonları için değil. Artık bundan sonra gelecekte bütün yani makinaların içinde olacak. Yani bizim cyber physical system dediğimiz veyahut da machine to machine dediğimiz, yani bundan sonra ceketlerimizde, elbiselerimizde, ayakkabılarımız birbirleriyle konuşacak. Bildiğiniz gibi bu hafta Berlin'de IFA vardır. IFA'da en önemli konu yani wearable. Yani insanların giyebileceği elbiseler. Onları da artık o iletişim sistemine bağlı. Bunlar da tabii iletişim olduğu zaman bunlar bizim hayatımızı kolaylaştırıyor diye her madalyanın iki yüzü vardır. Diğer tarafta da güvenlik sorunumuz çıkıyor ortaya. Bugün buradaki arkadaşlarımızla bunları anlatacağız. Yes, right now I am going to switch in English. I am very sorry. I started in Turkish. Now I am switching in English. My name is Şahin Albayrak. I'm professor at the Technical University of Berlin. My main research focus is distributed artificial intelligence, and one of my group is working on the area on cybersecurity and security. Therefore, I'm a little familiar about cybersecurity and security. As you know, cybersecurity is a very important issue. It is not the issue only for the industry. It is an issue only for the society. One of the biggest challenge for the future is cybersecurity. That means to have a solution which can protect us from the people who are attacking us. I have the honor today to introduce to you some experts. From my left side, Martin. His origin is from Belgium. He's living in United States. And from the right side is Ali. Ali is his origin is as me from Turkey, but he's living in United States. He's working for the Microsoft. Mehmet Bey is one of the security experts, and our other panelist is Sajid Bey. Sajid Bey is head of department for information and communication technology. Department of Information Technology, and is responsible for the regulation and standardization. And one of the areas is what we have to try to regulate, try to develop some standardization. It is even cybersecurity. And our last panelist, Ali Bey. Ali Bey is working for a company which calls Deloitte. Deloitte is their origin is a consulting company, but Ali Bey is one of the cybersecurity experts. He belongs to he's member of the cybersecurity staff in Turkey. I think each of them can introduce themselves later on. And if you allow, I will start with Martin. Martin, you can try to explain to the audience about what you're feeling about cybersecurity, what you think cybersecurity is one of the largest issue for the society, when I tell society, it's all of the society. And the second question is what you think, how the future, a solution for that problem can look like.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Shaheen, and also thank you very much to all the event and workshop organizers for inviting FIRST to be here today. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit more about what the organization that I represent really does. FIRST is the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams, and it was founded in 1989, shortly after the first major internet worm, the Morris worm. And FIRST really came to be because incident response teams at the time really needed to find a way to talk to each other and engage each other very, very quickly when there was a security incident. And when you look at a conference like the Internet Governance Forum, one of the things that is extremely clear is that the internet really holds the key to economic development and the ability of people everywhere to be able to make a living, to be able to do business across country borders. And I think that's a promise that the internet holds, which we really need to protect. And that's really what cybersecurity is all about. Now, FIRST started off as that very small group of a few incident response and security teams that worked together and had this mission to protect the internet and their respective organizations. Today, FIRST consists of over 305 security teams in over 66 countries across the world. And a very big key to what we see is really the solution to the information security or the cybersecurity problem is information sharing. The ability to share information, to share expertise is incredibly crucial to making sure that we deal with the security issues that exist today. And in this workshop, I expect that we'll end up talking a lot about the mechanics of information sharing and how that really works and what the best approach to that is. But in order to give my sort of entrance into it, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about what we see as the prerequisite conditions to enabling information sharing. So before you actually sign that agreement to share information with someone, before you actually decide to exchange information with another party, there are a couple of things that really need to be in place. The very most important element of that is actually trust. People will only share and will only use information that is shared if they know the people they're working with, if they have been able to work together before and the result of those exchanges has been positive, and finally, if they know that the partners that they're working with are trustworthy. And you can know whether someone is trustworthy either by working with them yourself or by actually having friends of you decide that they are trustworthy, and you take the argument of those friends as very valuable. In the security space, that's often known as vetting, where one or two organizations say, this organization is really useful to work with. And they say that it's a good idea to include that organization in any information sharing project. Second, there's such a thing as capacity. It's not just important that you trust other partners, it's also important that when you share something with those partners, that you know that they are going to use that information in the way that you expect that they will use it, and that they have the right capabilities to deal with the incident that you're describing. And finally, you need technical systems and standards to be able to exchange that information. When you really trust someone and you have a large set of data that would be really useful for both of you to partner on dealing with an information security incident, you still need to find a way to share that information in a good way that it's actually usable. And you can do that by developing standards to work together, define how to describe the data, and how to then technically exchange it. And the combination of those three things, I actually like to refer to it as connectedness. On the internet, we need connectivity. We need to be able to connect to each other and share information. Yet at the same time, we also need to have a sense that we can work with each other and that the data that we share is actually going to be useful. And I like to refer to that as connectedness. It's really a combination of having both the connectivity and also having a shared understanding of what will happen with the information. Within FIRST, the organization, the way that we actually implement these principles is, for instance, by vetting new teams. When a new team requests membership into FIRST, we will actually work with that team and find sponsors that have already done work with them before and can actually confirm that they enjoyed working with that team and that the outcome of that collaboration was successful. At the same time, we will also, for instance, organize conferences and events. So these teams have the ability to work together, to exchange experience on things they've done before. And finally, we'll also work, for instance, on standards development and create ways that those teams can actually write up a standard together on how to share data and even write the code together to share the data. And that usually creates a sense of connectedness that actually enables the sharing. I know that was quite a bit, but I hope it illustrates a little bit how we as an organization see the prerequisite elements to information sharing and how it's actually possible to share information at a very good technical level with all of those prerequisites fulfilled. So that really summarizes, I think, the core of what I think is very important when you engage on an information sharing relationship.
Okay, thanks. Now the Microsoft software is not too secure. Sorry. Mehmet Bey, can you please describe your view to the cybersecurity and the solution what your company is working on?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Ajerer for inviting me to speak here. It's an honor to be with you guys. I would like to respond you first of all about the comment that you made, which is that Microsoft is not secure. I think I would like to look at the picture from a different angle, which is that Microsoft has the biggest market share in the computer market. Therefore, it is the biggest target for those who want to have bigger attacks. That does not mean Microsoft is least secure. If you look at 2013 and 2012 amount of bug releases in each operating system, actually Microsoft had less bugs than Linux or Mac OS X. So that's that. Next is, I would like to ask a quick question. How many people in the room does not understand Turkish? All right, I will go ahead with English then. Thank you. Just wanted to. This would be first time ever that I speak my native language in my homeland, but it's not going to be. Don't worry. I will switch back and forth. We sit down in several meetings, long meetings. There are, different subjects or discussions, going on. Internet Governance Forum is an amazing opportunity. By the way, my name is Mehmet Aksin. I work for Microsoft and I oversee several high-level activities, DNS, IPv6, Internet governance, and security. Today, I would like to speak about security high level, but also with some very direct examples. Computers were found somewhere like 25 years ago in terms of personal computers as we know it, right? At that time, nobody really think about doing anything malicious with these devices. All they wanted to do is some computing, writing text, printing, painting stuff, playing games. But later on, obviously some bad people happened to be around and they did some bad things with the computer, for computers, which we call viruses. Later on, we find a way to connect these computers, and we are lucky to have one of the founders of the internet with us in this event, Windsurf. When the internet came, the ability to distribute viruses amongst computers was even bigger. Now everything was connected to each other. There were multiple ways, such as emails, website, to distribute these viruses. But later on, these devices even become other than computers now. It's cell phones, it's the tablets, everything that is connected to the internet is a part of cybersecurity thinking that we need to consider, because it's Internet of Things, right? Everything that's connected to internet needs cybersecurity. So Microsoft has a unit that is specially dedicated to fight with digital crime. I wanted to bring so many people from that unit here, and I wanted to also bring people who work with this digital crimes unit day to day. I couldn't do that, so I prepared a video. I interviewed them, and I would like to play that video for you guys to understand what we do. So, could you please, arkadaşlar birinci videoyu çalıştırabilir miyiz?
The sheer scale of the challenge of cybercrime is far greater than anybody ever imagined before.
People are using their mobile phones to make transactions. People are on the web buying things more often than they ever were before.
93% of all money is digital. So that's what's at risk.
It's difficult because as technology increases on our side, technology increases on the bad guy side as well.
I don't have to go out and break into an ATM. I can do this from behind a computer. So what we're seeing is this great increase in terms of transnational crime online.
The answer to this problem is ultimately not simply a public one. It is a public-private partnership, and Microsoft is at the core of that solution.
Microsoft is game changer in terms of the fight against cybercrime.
It's vital that we have a set of relationships where people can come in and work together and not work at the speed of government or even at the speed of business, but at the speed of cyber.
Now we're able to go on the offensive in a completely legal way using civil litigation action with Microsoft resources.
We're able to work with Microsoft to make really lasting, impactful change by taking down things on a much larger scale.
So what we will see, hopefully, is that we will see more takedowns in coordination where Microsoft has the muscles and insight. We will follow up. So we will not just take them down, we'll actually also utilize the knowledge to see if we can catch the perpetrators.
If we try to build the present in the image of the past, we would miss out entirely on the challenge of the future.
Because of companies like Microsoft and the Digital Crimes Unit, more is being done today than has ever been done in history. The work they're doing is really heroic, and I believe it represents enormous hope for the future.
Our goal is to take new steps forward to really ensure that it's a lot harder in the future for cybercrime to pay off.
First of all, this was a very short example of what we do. I would like to give a little bit more examples of what we actually do. So you know, a lot of computers are infected around the world. Some people run antivirus systems, or some antivirus systems actually don't even not find out these viruses. They have some sort of mechanisms to hide themselves. So what we have is almost what you can call like a special police operations kind of thing, and I don't want to really say special police because that's probably the worst way of explaining, but it's like there are actual dedicated people who are looking for these infected machines on behalf of our customers who use Windows, and when we detect them, we do everything possible to clean those machines. So we have a second video which will go into more details and actually explain some of the operations we make, and that will be it. So the second video, ikinci video lütfen, and that will be it for me.
Okay. Second one.
It's short.
Every year, criminals are getting more sophisticated in figuring out how to exploit the internet for purposes of doing harm to others.
These guys are really sophisticated, they're technology oriented.
It's everything from malicious code and computer viruses to child pornography and human trafficking to software counterfeiting, internet piracy, advertising fraud, click fraud.
Anything you can think of that makes money, these guys are involved.
It's a lot of different sorts of sinister activities that victim victimize people all over the world.
Cybercrime is a truly global crime, a transnational crime in nature that is different from what used to be.
There's no set boundary for where they might come from, and there's no set boundary for where they might attack. A lot of it is target of opportunity, wherever they can find a toehold, especially if it's financially motivated.
The techniques of the adversaries keep getting more sophisticated. It doesn't cost much to attack. It costs a lot to defend.
Given the migration of so much of our important work, our personal information to the cloud, you have to have a level of commitment by a company like Microsoft to protect computer users. The Cybercrime Center is one tangible example of our commitment.
I think that we are at a critical moment in time. In part, it's because the problem is getting worse. Now, at the same time, our technology is getting much more sophisticated, and it was clear this was the time to make sure that we harness the power of that technology so that we have the most powerful ability in the world to fight crime on the internet.
Well, the Cybercrime Center is a place, a global headquarters for our worldwide digital crimes unit that is fighting cybercrime around the world. It's a place where our most talented lawyers, intelligence specialists, investigators work together here with law enforcement and industry partners to combat cybercrime and investigate real cybercrime cases every minute of every day. That includes mapping capabilities, it includes malware detection capabilities, all sorts of cutting-edge forensic techniques that allow us to detect, monitor, and investigate the cybercriminals.
No nation or no international or the regional organizations can fight against cybercrime alone. We need a global alliance.
Where there are bad guys in one country doing damage in another country, our ability to have a global footprint and be able to interact with law enforcement in all these different countries is essential.
It's vital that we have a set of relationships where people can come in and work together and not work at the speed of government or even at the speed of business, but at the speed of cyber.
If you worked alone, what you would see is these complex networks, you would take down one site and another one would pop up. So essentially it becomes a game of whack-a-mole. Instead of doing that, we're able to work with Microsoft to make really lasting, impactful change by taking down things on a much larger scale because they have the visibility and the expertise to do that.
Ultimately, though, everybody's vulnerable.
I think it's very exciting, this development of this Microsoft Cybercrime Center with the technology, having it being 24/7. I think that's the type of response that we need as a society.
Cyber defense is a team sport, and everybody has to be involved. We have to work together. So it has to be a private sector, it has to be a public sector, it has to be international.
To clearly name specific unit in Microsoft as Cybercrime Center, it's an obvious sign to law enforcement that Microsoft is serious about cybercrime, that Microsoft is serious to work with law enforcement.
When there is a criminal anywhere in the world who's trying to separate an elderly person from their money, trying to defraud somebody, trying to steal their personal information, we have a better capability to connect the dots, follow the leads, work with law enforcement, and ultimately prove to that criminal that this is not a way for them to make money.
Innovation is at the heart of Microsoft as a company, but it's not just in how we make products, it's how we fight crime. This place is the epicenter of our commitment to innovation in fighting crime.
It helps ensure that our customers get the benefit of all of this expertise, that they have a safer and reliable computing environment. It also enables us to do something for the world as a whole, we hope, in terms of ensuring that everybody, no matter what kind of computing device they're using, can do so with more confidence.
Thank you. I would be happy to answer questions online or offline.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mehmet Bey. I think these videos showed us we learned two things from these videos. One is the dimension of these whole problems. The second was the complexity of cybersecurity. From my point of view, it is a complexity which brings us to the point we need some regulation in order to everybody from us using systems, cloud solution, all of the solution. I think we need something like this standardizations and regulations. And our colleague, our next panelist is Sajid Bey. Sajid Bey is head of department. And Sajid Bey, can you describe us? I mean, I'm fully fully convinced that we need regulations. And can you describe your position, how the solution for cybersecurity can look like with regulation?
Okay, I'll try. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I would like to thank to the organizers for inviting me and giving this opportunity. And I'm working for ICT Authority of Turkey, head of IT department. And I will try to share Turkish experience, what's going on about the cybersecurity, and also in incident handling, and we'll try to share our experiences. And as ICT Authority, we have been studying about cybersecurity since 2008. From that year to now, many things has been changed as all over the world, like in Turkey also. So before 2012, until 2012, we didn't have any entities or local bodies directly related to the cybersecurity issues. After that time, in 2012, a high-level cybersecurity board has been established, and this board is chaired by Minister of Maritime Affairs, Transport and Communications. So there is a high-level representatives from different parts of the government and organizations. So this board creates some rules and create an action plan in order to, enhance the cybersecurity in Turkey. And we have, until that, we have a strategy for that. And in Turkey, everybody knows what to do, have to do for cybersecurity issues and also incident handling. One of the most important things that covered by this action plan is incident response teams. So how we share the information about cybersecurity, because this is one of the most important things in the cyber world. If there is an incident, there is a security issue, then we have to share this information in order to get ready for these security breaches. So incident response teams is one of the most important things that is captured by the action plan. And in this action plan, critical infrastructures also prioritized. So we deal with the critical infrastructures first, and then the other infrastructures. And one of the most important infrastructures is electronic communications, and we are regulating the electronic communications sector. So we regulate this area. We can regulate this area. And we start to working about it, and we collect some ideas and thoughts from the sector in order to find a good solution, a suitable solution for everyone. And we prepared regulations for our sector. So we decided ISPs and other operators that provide internet services have to create their cybersecurity response teams. And as authority, also we created a CERT team, so in order to have communications with national CERT and the other operators. So, but this is not the start of our efforts, Before that, as I mentioned earlier, we started our studies in 2008. Between 2008 and 2012, we have conducted 3 cybersecurity exercises in order to enhance the capabilities of our operators as well as the national bodies, governmental bodies in Turkey. And I believe these help enhancing cooperation and sharing information and knowing each other. This is one of the most important things, and this help us very much for our experiences. And after that, we have after the action plan, we have national CERT, and all regulatory bodies of critical infrastructures as well as the related bodies are connected to this national CERT. So we have a tree-like structure that is going top to down, and this make us communicate easily and effectively. And after that, we prepared some guidance documents and guidelines for CERTs in order to enhance our capabilities and create some standardization and for better communications and so on. So we believe that, because we believe that it's very important to be in the same track, because if someone do another type of regulation or another type of structure, create another type of structure, then there will be some difficulties to share our experiences or our information effectively. So we create some guidelines and share this with the related parties and publish them. And after that, we are focusing on how to improve our information sharing model and how to enhance trust between the legal bodies and the other CERTs located in Turkey. To sum up, I can say 5 things that we learned from our experiences, how to deal with the cyber incidents, how to create cybersecurity issues. So the most important thing, I believe, creating a model. And this is critical, but you can use best practices, because this is not the first time if you are creating some model. There are good examples, best practices, and many of them are shared with public. And this is the first thing that I can share. The second thing, enhancing sharing capabilities and willingness to share the information is very important, because without sharing any information, the system will not work. Then all the things that you have done goes to zero and nothing. And this is very important. And as regulatory authority, we do some regulations in order to make our operators to do their duties or do their homework. So if it's necessary, it become an important item to do regulations for this. And the following up what is going on after creating such a model is very important, because we see that some countries create some CERTs, national CERTs and other CERTs, and the model will not work because nobody's sharing and nobody following up what is going on. And it's very important to educate the target, the CERTs, and sharing experiences and make them on the same track. And last but not the least, seeking for more stakeholders is very important, because cybersecurity is not an issue in only national. It has both national and international things that you can learn or you have to learn. So to be more efficient, it's very important to share your share information and other things with the other stakeholders. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I forgot it to switch on. Thank you very much, Sajid Bey. Our next speaker is Ali Yilmaz. Mr. Ali Yilmaz Kumucu. He's part of National Security Incident Response Study Group, and even he's moderator there. Ali Bey, can you please describe your view of the cybersecurity? I mean, you're working in this group as expert. Can you describe your viewpoint to the cybersecurity, the complexity, how a solution can look like from your? I mean, you are working on this solution too. How a solution can look like for this problem?
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for inviting us as part of the initiative to this wonderful conference. You know, throughout the panel, other panelists, and throughout other sessions in the IGF, it has been noted again and again that it all comes down to trust between different stakeholders that are trying to achieve the same goal. Today, I think when it comes to achieving a better cyber incident response capability, we'll have to emphasize it again. And you know, when we mention about a successful CERT, Computer Security Incident Response Team, it obviously depends on a number of parameters. These parameters range from a set of clear goals, open communication, like Martin mentioned, a set of good tools, people, training, adequate funding, but most importantly, collaboration among the peers and understanding the needs of different stakeholders. It's not only collaboration between other CERTs, but collaboration between stakeholders, the need, the openness to get feedback from the citizens, or if it's a CERT of a particular organization, getting feedback from the staff itself. So why is trust such a crucial factor in the success of a national CERT or even a regional one or an organization-wide CERT? It's quite simple. Like all the videos Mehmet has shown, no CERT will have a complete set of technology, staff, know-how, or most importantly, data to prepare for and respond to complex incidents. And we have seen many of these complex incidents in the recent years. You've heard of them on the media, or some of them you even helped respond to, I'm sure. These complex incidents required cooperation between the national CERTs, regional CERTs, you know, industry-wide CERTs, and even cybercrime units, which are not typically considered as CERTs. Now, open communication and data sharing is a must in these instances we have seen. Oftentimes, a particular threat might have been picked up by one CERT, but other CERTs might have missed it, and they will only recognize the threat when it is on their doorsteps, and there's very little time to act on it. I'm emphasizing trust, but you may be thinking, since we have a regulator here, why just try to build trust and not enforce by law mandatory data sharing? Why not make it mandatory for all CERTs or for all organizations to share particular type of data? That's one way to go about it, to make it by law. But there's contradictory research. There's research contradicting that philosophy. Research clearly shows that by making mandatory data sharing laws, you actually undermine the existing trust or whatever trust that you could have built by spending some effort, and you undermine all the efforts forward. And one bad way of doing things is actually enforcing a hierarchy on these CERTs by putting one type of CERT in the hierarchy higher above to the others and mandating some sort of information flow up to the CERTs that are higher in the hierarchy. Good examples that have been shared in other panels throughout IGF continually stress that there should be equal footing among CERTs. Like Martin mentioned in first, there has to be participation by different CERTs, and they have to really showcase their capabilities and convince others that they are delivering on the set of goals that they have promised. So we believe that it's absolutely crucial that building trust instead of forcing each of these corporations or national organizations, government institutions to actually act on it. Now, one way of fostering trust and delivering better results is obviously creating channels for collaboration. First, that Martin represents is an excellent channel, but I want to dig deeper and follow where Mr. Sajid has left and give you two examples of open communication and collaboration platforms. One example I want to give from is actually from Turkey. The Turkish government, upon enacting the National Cybersecurity Strategy and Action Plan in 2012, has realized the importance of trust and open communication and initiated the formation of a volunteer group called Cybersecurity Initiative. It's a great example of public-private partnership, which has been mentioned before. The initiative itself is composed of private sector players, security technology vendors, academia, and various NGOs. The goal is to gather collective intelligence around selected topics to help improve and influence the legislation in a way to make it adhere to good practices and also take into account the various needs and priorities of stakeholders. We have witnessed in those initiative meetings that different stakeholders view the cyber issue from different angles. Private sector demands one thing, the government institutions have certain needs, and the vendors are maybe not prepared to deliver on each of these needs. So we have witnessed that it's absolutely crucial to have all the stakeholders in one room as frequent as possible to discuss open issues and to help standardize certain processes, and basically at the end of the day help the legislators gain from that experience and needs. And one of the topics that have been selected as part of this initiative to be worked on is the National Cyber Incident Response Group, which I moderate. And we decided we need special focus on two areas. One is the information sharing model that should be part of the national CERTs, the industry-wide CERTs, and the local CERTs as mandated by the law. And the other one is conducting efficient cyber attack simulation or exercises. As Mr. Sajid mentioned, we have already, as Turkey, conducted 3 of them. Actually, there was, I think, a 4th one, international cyber shield exercise, which has been conducted in Turkey and Istanbul a few months ago. But there's a lot of experience to be gained from other nations that have been conducting similar exercises. So we made that a priority in this working group, to how we actually can conduct more efficient exercises. Why did we focus on these two things, information sharing model and better exercises? Because these are tools to actually instill trust in the stakeholder community. When you perform exercises, you understand the capabilities and the weaknesses of other stakeholders and your peers. And when you have a standard model to share information, you actually get assurance and confidence that other parties will deliver as you expect them to. The other example I want to give is from the private sector. As Mr. Shine mentioned, I work for Deloitte, and Deloitte is a leader in information and risk consulting, and it's a global organization. And we have actually sponsored a group in World Economic Forum in 2012 in Davos, partnering for cyber resilience. the experience we have gathered from sponsoring that effort, the Partnering for Cyber Resilience, helped us form a trusted community of 15 global corporations and public institutions that share cyber intelligence data among each other. We have been running this experiment for about a year, and within that trusted community, the participants observed that before the experiment began, they all thought that the data stream that they already had was enough or good enough to respond to certain type of threats. But after the experiment, after a year, they all realized that data collected and basically shared between this trusted community is so much more valuable than what they had by themselves, that they want to continue the experiment, they want to fund this experiment and actually double the size of the trusted community. Various lessons have been learned throughout this experiment, and we continually keep learning new ones. Few of them is how to automate data sharing, because face-to-face meetings obviously is good for collaboration, but at the end of the day it's about intelligence feeds that need to be automated, and how you govern a trusted community, and last but not least, legal aspects of cross-border information sharing, which is a big challenge for regulators in all countries. In closing remarks, I want to encourage all of you to get involved in an open dialogue about better collaboration among CERTs. Motivate and push your public institutions as well as private sector stakeholders for participation in increased dialogue. Use platforms such as the Cybersecurity Initiative in Turkey or global platforms like FIRST to contribute and gain from. Thank you very much for attending and listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali Bey, for excellent contribution. Now we are switching to the next step in our next stage in our workshop. Right now, we would like, if you have any question, you have the opportunity to ask our experts. And
can we have the mic?
Yeah.
Hello.
Please switch on. Yeah, okay. It's okay.
Okay. Hello. I want to ask something about the video we have seen.
Sorry?
Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Someone in the video you showed said 90% of money is digital. What is he talking about? Is he talking about bitcoins? We don't have as much of money as bitcoins. I want to understand what he is talking about. I don't imagine that really 90% of our money is digital. And not even the transactions. Unless you are talking about a certain country, a certain region, I don't know. But it is too much. 90% of money is digital.
I believe those are the money that is the transactions which are online commerce, or the money that's available via a computer access.
Anyway, okay. Second question is that how do Microsoft, I know we have worked with Microsoft in Beirut and the regional bureau, and they were very supporting for all our cybersecurity activity. But about the cybercrime center, do you cooperate with, let's say, NGO, academics, or academia, I mean, or whatever, on some capacity building?
I believe with the capacity, meaning you mean training, correct?
Exactly.
Exactly. So we do have several activities. First of all, I am not exactly sure about Beirut, if you're asking about Beirut, but I know in developing countries we do have regions through our local offices, and we had one in Istanbul this week, as well. I don't know if you were aware, but we had about 50 people attending in the Microsoft offices security training that's directly addressing the cybersecurity concerns. And one other thing is that there are opportunities out there. I understand that we might be able to be more active, so we are happy to listen those, and if there are invites from academia, from public sector, we are here to help and support, because we know you are our customer. We are here to be with you.
Exactly. No, I know you. They are doing great work. I'm not, but I was asking to see if something has changed. If sometimes it takes time to get the help we need or the expert we need, because you have a lot of work to do. That's it.
Yes.
Well, another question, please, for the Turkish expert who has spoken about the national team for cybersecurity, and it appears to me that your team is under the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Communications. That's it?
Actually, no. It is under the telecommunications presidency that is related to our authority, so ICT authority.
Excuse me, but aren't you a, let's say, unique experience? Unique, is it working? Because as everyone knows, cybersecurity, national cybersecurity concerns many entities.
Sure.
Like the Ministry of Interior, like the Ministry of Defense, telecommunication. So how comes that in your country it is the TRA who is guiding or who is heading the initiative?
Actually, as I said earlier, we have Cybersecurity Board chaired by the Minister of Transport, Maritime Affairs and Communications, and this board includes many high-level representatives from different entities of the government. So Ministry of Interior and also our authority and other entities are represented in this board. So this board decides what is the strategy, what is the action plan, what Turkish entities as well as the private sector has to do, and other things. So they are represented in that council.
It was more than clear what you said, but what I want to understand is, what do you really think of this issue? I think that cybersecurity is more general and it's broader than this.
Sure, you're right, but you have to deal with these issues regarding to the national security also, because you have to deal with it. And also we are working with other entities like NGOs, other private sector companies, as Ali Bey said, and we created a group of experts that are coming from universities, academia, and private sectors, in order to get involved these and create a multi-stakeholder structure for dealing with the cybersecurity issues. This is the Cybersecurity Council is not only the entity that we have. We are trying to get involved everybody in the Turkey, as well as the other people in the outside of Turkey. Thank you. And
I want to quickly add something there as well. I believe from I don't live in Turkey, and from what I see from outside is this is an effort that's led by BTK and the ministry. However, it's not necessarily exclusive, but it's inclusive, and it's open to anyone, any ministry, any participation that wants to collaborate, and that's pretty much how it is anywhere in the world.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have questions here, the gentleman.
Hello. Hello, my name's Patrick Curry, and I'm from the British Business Federation Authority. and I'm involved in the EU Network Information Security Platform, which supports the development of the Directive for Network Information Security, which is part of the EU Cybersecurity strategy. So there is a lot of international interest in Europe, as well as much, much wider, looking at the requirements for incident notification, risk management, and information sharing in particular across major sectors. At the same time, they are coordinating with NATO because member states cannot have different solutions. They can't afford them. They're too difficult. As we are living in an increasingly turbulent world, Ukraine came up this morning and yesterday in our cyber discussions, it would be very helpful to know how your cyber journey might collaborate and connect with these other major activities.
So it's all about supply and demand, right? At this moment, what I understand from the initiatives that you guys carry, there are some demand from our customers, which pretty much every NATO country and governments are our customers, as well as EU countries, they are our customers. And if there is a demand to enable opportunities, if there is a demand for us to enable new technologies where the concerns towards enabling the communications in security.
So forgive me, I understand Microsoft piece, there's lots of involvement in Microsoft.
Yes.
My question is more from a Turkish coordination point of view.
Sorry, you should have...
Okay.
Sorry,
as you said, there are some different regulations regarding to network security, network information security. We also have some regulations regarding to them, and we also set some rules to the operators that has critical infrastructures. So we have to create a level of security, minimum level of security, in order to get secure all over the world. I believe that. And also we get deep into the EU's regulation regarding to network information security and get many points from that. Also, standardization is very important, and we use ISO standards, namely ISO 27001 regarding to information security management. So these are the things, but these are the things that I can say. So
I would like to add to that briefly. The current state of Turkish collaboration with international efforts in setting standards or sharing information has multiple fronts. One of them is through the foreign capital has invested a lot in Turkish critical infrastructure. So from telecoms to transportation, there's a lot of foreign capital that has been invested in Turkey, and obviously information trickles down, from the know-how in headquarters and the efforts of collaboration that has been happening in EU headquarters or US headquarters, eventually finds its way to the Turkish corporations. So the private sector benefits from having that kind of relationship, and that's one way of the private sector gets involved in these efforts. And from a regulation standpoint, we as the private sector, participants observe that our regulation, whether that be the financial, regulator, the telecoms regulator, or the energy regulator, really benefits from the efforts that have been ongoing in EU or otherwise, like the ISO standards, And our legislation gets drafted most of the time to be in accordance or in alignment with that efforts, like the definition of a critical infrastructure and how we form CERTs in all of the critical infrastructure players. But what we lack currently is a two-way communication. So we benefit from all of these efforts, but we contribute very little. Part of that might be that we don't feel mature enough to contribute, but I think that needs to change quickly because there's been a lot of effort in Turkey to speed things up when it comes to cybersecurity, and I think we need to be represented in all of these efforts, whether that be by some government institutions or some other non-profit institutions like the Cybersecurity Initiative.
We have two questions, I think. Yeah.
Okay, Hakan Bakır. Actually, my question is going to be a little bit public-private communication, not relation communication. At the end of the day, regulatory body is making some regulation and establishing some bodies like incident response team and such kind of thing. Did Turkish government make any communication with the vendors like Microsoft or other companies? If it is a software company, did Turkish government make any communication with such kind of vendors in order to get the open points of the subjects to close, or vendors like Alcatel, Ericsson, Huawei, did you make any communication for some physical cybersecurity open points? Do you have such kind of? Did you have such kind of study?
Thank you. Actually, we have a live person here who is, attending, and one of the responsible of the groups that we are created. We created Cybersecurity Initiative, and there are, I cannot tell how many of the private sector companies are involved in this, but there are many. For example, Microsoft is one of them. Deloitte,
67.
67. So we are closely working with the private sector because private sector is one of the most important part of this cybersecurity world. So without them, we cannot go through, and we cannot, enhance our capabilities. And we are doing it and try to enhance this cooperation. Thank you.
Yeah, I just thought I'd chime in on that because I really like to hear the fact that there is so much collaboration between the public sector and the private sector, and it's one of those areas where you see a lot of things happening in the wider community as well. And there was actually one case study that I thought would illustrate well how that can actually be done in a very, very positive effect. So to give you just one example, in Luxembourg quite recently, the national CERT actually started operating a solution that was first of all developed by many different national CERTs together, and the code of that solution was published freely so people could actually go and adopt it. And they operated in such a way that they actually provide access to this information sharing tool for all companies that are actually based in Luxembourg. So it's a very quick way for a national CERT to actually enable information sharing on particular incidents with the private sector. And one of the nice things about that is that to many larger corporations, it seems that data has to be very specific to be useful, and security incident data has to be very detailed to be useful. And the reality is that for most corporations that are actually at a fairly low level of sophistication when it comes to cybersecurity, even data that is currently already in the public domain can be very useful when it's enriched by, for instance, the national national CERT. There's actually a lot of incident data that is freely out there, but people aren't able to put it together because it's so diverse. And a national CERT really has a capability there to serve as a regional expert and put together both the vulnerability data that comes from vendors such as Microsoft with incident data that is available from many different research reports, together with the local context that actually makes local enterprise realize that it's something they can act on. So I really like hearing that, and I wanted to share this case study because it's something that I think is being done now in Luxembourg, which actually would work in a lot of different countries and a lot of different situations. Thanks for the question also.
Thank you for your contribution. Our next question.
My name is Nihat Sumer. I am from BDK. My question is related to recent iCloud celebrity photo leakage. And we know that Microsoft offers cloud service as well. Do you think that cloud services are safe or secure? And my second question, what kind of actions did Microsoft take after this incident?
Really good question, actually, really actual question. It's kind of hard to answer, to be honest. It's hard because there are certain people who are target. First of all, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Apple's iCloud issue that it had. There were some celebrity pictures that were leaked, as you might know or don't. Apple made a public announcement about this. Is cloud safe? So I would ask this question. Cloud is an environment where there are multiple aspects of the operation is shared, but what is logically considered shouldn't be shared is not shared. So having said that, there are multiple ways that Microsoft is working to make sure the cloud services is secure. I can refer you to actually azure.microsoft.com address for more details about what we do for security. But the problem, especially with the question you asked, was that there are some targets, and when there is a big target like that, security measurements should probably be elevated.
Okay.
Anybody else wants to answer that?
I mean,
one more question from the back.
We have one more question, and
can we get the mic there?
Okay. Well, thank you for the panel. Good afternoon. I have a question related again to the concept of the critical infrastructure. I come from academia, and from an academic point of view, the critical infrastructure is defined as the thing or the things that are kind of related to the well-being, the survival of a nation state, of a country, right? And in most countries, this is kind of shared heavily by the private sector in part, and by another part by the government. How do you conciliate, how do you manage this concept of sharing information that you emphasize when it's related to the critical infrastructure? Because I'm asking this because the critical infrastructure is that part of cybersecurity related to national security. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have several experts who can answer this question. The information sharing was, as far as I understood, was information which where we have experience and where we can share information in order to avoid any incident. As you heard, I mean, incident response, one of our goal is try to avoid incidents. And one of the solutions for that, to share information, to collect experience, to share that. but it is not sharing of information about the critical infrastructure, how the architecture of the critical infrastructure, things like that. As you know, the critical infrastructure today they are very complex. We have dependency between critical infrastructures such as electricity, power, and telecommunication. We have a lot of, the problem is really very complex. It is cybersecurity. It is issue within the critical infrastructure, as you know, such as smart grid, where the cybersecurity issue is very important there, to have a solution for that. And from my point of view, despite of them, it is very important to share information, to collect information, and experiences, information, in order to avoid incident. Okay, I think.
Thank you very much. Very good question. And as the experts mentioned, you cannot force to share information. Actually, this is a very important thing. An incident can be, affect the national security, and this should be shared with the, national CERTs or other sectoral CERTs, CERTs, and the others. But you cannot force it. This is why we have mentioned building trust is very important. So if you build trust, and if an operator or a private company has a trust, and if you have built it, then they will share it. Otherwise, they will have some concerns regarding to their entity or their company, so they will not share. But this is why we are, trying to enhance trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have some remote participant who has question.
We have a question from a remote participant to Mr. Sajid. What is ICT authorities' plan for next cyber exercises in terms of national and international?
Thank you very much. As I said earlier, we have done 3 national exercises and 1 international. The international one is conducted this year in 2014. The next year we are planning to do a national exercise, and in 2016 we are planning to do an international one. This is the plan, but I don't know if we can manage or not. Thank you.
Any other questions from audience? No? Good. Based on the fact we are going to summarize our session, I would like to give each of our panelists to give the last statement. And Martin.
Thank you. So I think during this session you heard a lot of really interesting things about what happened here in Turkey. But I think some of the things that for me are real takeaways are that here too there's a lot of interest in both using regulation where it's necessary, at the same time also actually working with bottom-up processes where the CERT has a very particular role at coordinating between the various different CERTs that exist in Turkey. And I think that's really for me the key takeaway in quite a few places. It's that really one CERT or one organization cannot go it alone. In order to really deal with security problems, what we really need to do is we need to build partnerships between different different organizations that each have their role. Mehmet presented a few great videos that actually show that the role of an organization like Microsoft there is also very important. These companies have access to certain data that can really help drive investigations into bad activity on the internet. At the same time, other organizations have a role in actually responding to those incidents. And the role for us really as people that are here at the Internet Governance Forum is to really be able to find where those relationships matter and make sure that the right people connect with each other so we can all put together a framework in which we can deal with incidents comprehensively. From the origin, the organization where there's, for instance, a compromised machine and where the attack originates, all the way to where it can actually be addressed both at the software level and at the network level. So I think those are really, for me, the core things that I walk away with from this session. I'd like to thank everyone for participating and also the audience.
Mehmet, your
Yep. Yesterday I was in a different room. The subject was very similar, cybersecurity, and I heard this comment where people were discussing about cybersecurity a few years ago and many years ago, and a comment struck my head, which was, when the internet was found, everybody trusted each other. And later on, that trust fall. And now, it's not high trust anymore, it's low trust. I actually think there is no trust anymore. We are in public. The environment that you have trust is actually the people that you establish that. And especially speaking in the cybersecurity area, as we have all mentioned, that establishing that trust is very important. Keeping that trust level active is very important, because the roles change, people change, but operations stay. So it's very important for us to keep the communication channels open where we can collaborate. And a company, I represent a company in the size of Microsoft, and I am sure what we do is in different levels are done by different companies such as Google, Yahoo, etc. But this is something that we need everybody's help. We can't just do it ourselves.
Okay.
Thank you. It's very important to get together with the different sectors like private sector, NGOs and academia and other things in order to create a better cyber world by means of security. So we are going to be in an enhanced position for this, and we are trying to enhance our cooperation capabilities. And also, as Martin said, there are many case studies, best practices, and one of them was held today. There was a forum, best practices forum regarding to CERTs, and if you check their websites, there are many resources, documents, and other things that you can learn many things about the experiences. So this is the things that I can say for today, and thank you very much.
In referring back to the question from the lady at the back, you know, how do critical infrastructure providers share with each other information, and why would they do that? Fundamentally, humans are very good at receiving help when they feel threatened. We would always raise our hand and hope that somebody will pick us up from that horrible situation that we're in. It's a question whether the organization or the nations really recognize the size of the threat that's at their doorsteps. Not one celebrity could have fought what happened to them in the last few days. Neither could one company fight back to the size of the threat. So we just have to realize that none of us alone, including even a nation itself with a lot of resources can tackle the problem alone. Once we realize that, I think the human nature will prevail, and we will ask for help, and eventually we'll find partners that we can trust and find a way to exchange information.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, let me thank the organizer, first of all, Mr. Ajara and his staff, BTK, who organized this really very fruitful event and allowed us to touch a subject which is very, very hard. We've understood the cybersecurity issue. It's very hard topics, but very complex problem. We realized nobody is able to solve this problem alone. Therefore, we need for the solution different type of skills where we bring all of them together to solve them. Cybersecurity is a challenge for the society. From my point of view, the solution has several dimensions. One is education. Education, meaning of the education is for me, one hand education in the university to educate students. Other hand, to do training for the employees, company employees, not only for the employees, to inform the society about the problems. Other part of the solution, other dimension is the research. That means work on the solution, work on the different aspect of the solution. And the last part, last dimension is, from my point of view, is regulation and standardizations. I mean, we heard about cloud technology. From my point of view, it is necessary for the future. We have to define some regulations which allowed us to check our systems, even for the cloud technology, cloud solution, to protect our society and to protect our companies from this type of attack, this type of risk, in order to avoid the incidents. Thank you very much for your attention, and you have opportunity to discuss with the panelists after our workshop. And thank you very much for the panelists for their excellent contribution. Thank you very much.